It was a famous Connecticut drag car, ran Connecticut, Dover, and Sanford, Maine. I was too young to see it firsthand. I've seen it in film and photographs over the year, and I've just fallen in love with it.
Doug White from Model Car Music. I'm here at the Connecticut Street Rod Association Model Car Show, and I'm here with Jack Brady. Pulled me over and said, I want to show you this car. He replicated it as a model, and I think this is so cool.
I always wanted to build a model of it, but nobody made a body of it. I noticed a similarity of a 51 Chevy shares with the Crosley, and the rest of the body is pretty much flat panels. So I started off taking a nose from a 51 Chevy, cut it, reworked those fenders, and then the Revell hood is a 53 Chevy. That happened to work out a little better. I used that, narrowed it down, and then used a windshield frame from Henry J, Revell's Henry J, and then from this portion back and the doors back on both sides are evergreen plastic.
A ton of scratch building all the way back.
I had no plans for it other than there was a magazine article from 1964, I believe, a bunch of photographs, and then I was able to scale everything down the best I could. This wasn't a flip-top car, but I wanted to leave this off just to display things.
The detail on the motor, the valve covers, the injectors, really, it's so crisp.
Thank you. The project did take me in excess of 2 years. Now, the chassis represents a 2x3 rectangular, typical Altered chassis. A lot of scratch-built components. The chassis, of course, the steering box, all steering components, the front axle was a replica of a CAE front axle because no model manufacturer builds an accurate one. Transmission is a Chevy 3-speed hooked up to a AMT 55 Chevy motor. And then I built a Hirsch shifter with some rods going up there. Master cylinder, a Girling master cylinder was the master cylinder of choice in early race cars. Scratch built. In the motor, the Magneto, scratch built again. I used the AMT Nomad intake manifolds, right? The injector manifolds. Then electrical pieces there, I'm not quite sure what they call them, but the use of crimping wires, well, they work out well as 1/25th scale injector tube.
For the stacks.
Yes, exactly.
They're really great looking.
Seat belts made out of masking tape, and then the buckle ends evergreen. This is made out of evergreen, and I've bought some new pens. They're similar to a Molotov, but a different name. And you can paint this stuff on, and if you go on wet and fast, it gives a nice smooth surface. And when it dries, you can touch it, unlike some other brands.
You have a real penchant for detail. Your linkages all look like they can function, good joints and everything. This comes from your knowledge. You have a full-size car.
Yes, yeah. I've been around cars since I was 7 years old. I just happened to grow up in the great neighborhood that was loaded with race cars and hot rods. I grew up to build a nostalgia Fiat Altered, which we raced quite regularly up to about 4 years ago, and brought it out again last weekend to race up in Maine. So getting the bug again.
Here within Connecticut, the Brady brothers that have their name and sponsorship on this car, they were involved in circle track racing, drag racing, and a lot of the guys that were all involved in these Connecticut cars worked at Pratt & Whitney, Sikorsky, a lot of the other industries, building submarines. They went to work, they got the knowledge on how to work with metal, how to engineer, and how to troubleshoot. And they brought that all into their racing vehicles, and this is just a good example of that.
Lots of skilled workers down here, right?
And this little 4-cylinder.
This is an original Revell parts pack chassis. A lot of people think it's a chassis research, but it's actually the Kent Fuller version that he built for Tommy Ivo, the first version, which had a spring on the front. This is all part of the kit. The front axle comes from an orange crate. And this banger motor here comes from Revell's Model A pickup.
The pickup.
Right, they have speed equipment with the 4-cylinder.
My favorite cylinder head for a banger.
The rear wheels and tires, the old Monogram 49ers, they made the Screamer, the Fiat, and the Willys kit, right? Well, I had those, and those 1/32nd scale wheels fit well with a low-powered dragster. They're kind of rare, but I think they're coming back out with a lot of that 49ers stuff.
This guy with these carbs.
I built this around 1990. That's all evergreen plastic. The motor is an Oldsmobile that comes out of AMT's 40 sedan. The 6 2-barrels, they're Rochesters. They come out of I'm not sure where those ones came, but I drilled and used real wire. I'll never do that again. It was a piano wire.
Oh,
you know
sure.
how hard that is
yeah.
to cut.
To cut? Yeah.
And the aluminum, I got sheet aluminum, which was very thin, right? And I cut and filed every arm out for the throttle arms. Today I can do it in plastic, easier and a little better.
So it's not photo etch.
No.
It's just gorgeous,
This
gorgeous
is long
handwork.
before photo etch. I've been lucky where I started modeling as a kid, got away in my teenage years, and then when I married my beautiful wife, Sue, I started building again, and I've been at that for over 40 years.
So you have a balance between working in scale and working full scale on your
Yes.
on your Fiat.
I've been around racing since 1967. I've been with it the whole time, but around 1972 they switched to rear engine dragsters, and it just wasn't for me. Right, and then somebody gave me a stack of hot rod magazines, and I've become a student of history ever since. Right, so all my models are based on 50s or 60s cars, hot rods, race cars. I think I'm going to try a custom somewhere down the line.
Great. So you get more inspiration out of your hot rod magazines to do
yeah.
customs.
Yeah.